£23 million, evaporated in 3 minutes. A magnum detonates in the heart of luxurious London. A fleeing thief slammed and pinned to the pavement by a war veteran, his fake wig ripped clean off. But the undisputed masterpiece of this chaos isn't the violence. It is a £500,000 blue diamond rendering itself invisible to the world, resting silent at the bottom of a jar of women's face cream. This is how the notorious Pink Panthers transformed a high-end heist into a military operation. The structural disintegration of Yugoslavia in the 1990s did not merely erase historical borders. It created a terrifying, unstable vacuum. It birthed a lost generation of lethal, stateless mercenaries. Young men, forged in the darkest fires of modern conflict, returned to a homeland that no longer existed. Their national economy was annihilated by international sanctions and hyperinflation. The fundamental structures of civilized society were reduced to smoldering ash. Survival in this post-conflict environment demanded a ruthless abandonment of traditional morality. The black market became the only functioning government, and violence became the only recognized currency. Western intelligence agencies and elite European law enforcement divisions soon began tracking a chilling anomaly within the illicit economy. They were not tracking impulsive, desperate individuals making careless mistakes. They were hunting disciplined, organized military ghosts. Classified dossiers, intercepted communications, and secure intelligence briefings reached a unified conclusion. This emerging Balkan network was methodically engineered by trained former Special Forces operators and hardened, combat-tested paramilitary veterans. These were men who had spent the prime years of their lives mastering the unforgiving arts of covert infiltration, tactical surveillance, and psychological warfare. When the geopolitical wars ended, they did not lay down their weapons and integrate into a broken society. They did not surrender their multi-million-dollar skill sets. They took and repurposed them for the private sector. The battlefields had shifted from the muddy trenches of Eastern Europe to the polished marble avenues of the West. To understand the operational capacity of this network, you must examine their embedded infrastructure. They did not purchase cheap, untraceable handguns from street-level dealers. They utilized established military connections to cipher military-issue weaponry, plastic explosives, and encrypted radio hardware from abandoned national armories. They established secure logistical pipelines across the continent. They utilized the same covert smuggling routes used in the past to move wartime contraband, to now move stolen diamonds and transport fugitive operatives across fortified borders without leaving a single digital or physical trace. An ordinary criminal operates on raw, unpredictable emotion. They rely on blind luck, crude physical intimidation, and chaotic brute force. The remnants of war operate on a different paradigm. They function on strict, uncompromising military doctrine. They plan their operations with the exact surgical precision used by state-sponsored intelligence agencies to execute geopolitical assassinations. They study architectural blueprints. They analyze police armed response times down to the individual second. They utilize military-grade counter-surveillance protocols and encrypted communication channels. They compartmentalize their operational cells with lethal efficiency. The strike teams on the ground operate independently from the logistical support teams, and neither group possesses actionable intelligence regarding the commanders issuing the orders. If a single operative is captured, interrogated, or compromised by law enforcement, the larger network remains dark. They're executing hostile, calculated campaigns against civilian commercial targets. As their staggering multi-million-pound operations began to ripple across the globe, the international media latched onto a flawed, romanticized, and dangerous narrative. Journalists, authors, and armchair sociologists began to paint this shadowy network with a noble, almost mythical brush. They dubbed them modern-day Robin Hoods. the global media propagated a comforting, cinematic illusion. They sold the public a captivating storyline, suggesting these men were honorable outlaws. The narrative claimed they were striking the decadent elites of the Western world in order to funnel massive, untraceable fortunes back into their impoverished, war-torn communities in Eastern Europe. The press loved the idea of the gentleman rogue, the disciplined soldier who only targets insured corporate entities and never harms the working class. It was a seductive storyline that sold millions of newspapers, generated endless hours of television coverage, and engineered a wave of misplaced public sympathy. However, this romanticized illusion is a toxic lie. It is a fabricated, comforting myth designed by the media to mask an uncomfortable, terrifying reality. When you bypass the sensationalized headlines and dig into the raw, redacted interrogation transcripts of the captured operatives, the noble facade shatters. When behavioral analysts study the high-ranking commanders within this network, the truth is laid bare. The core architects of this organization hold zero underlying political ideology. They possess no righteous geopolitical vendetta against Western capitalism or corporate greed. They are not funneling millions of pounds into community orphanages, rebuilding bombed-out hospitals, or restoring civil infrastructure in the Balkans. The cold-blooded truth, confirmed time and time again by international law enforcement agencies, is devoid of romance. The singular driving force behind the most sophisticated illicit network on the planet is mathematical greed. They execute these dangerous calculated strikes for one reason: cold, hard, untraceable cash. The military ghosts are motivated by the accumulation of extreme personal wealth. The operational discipline is strict. The tactical execution is special forces. The logistics rival international intelligence agencies. But the ultimate objective is financial. There is a chilling psychological disconnect required to transition from the muddy, blood-soaked trenches of a civil war to the polished marble floors of the world's most exclusive luxury boutiques. For these stateless mercenaries, the glittering diamonds and gold chronographs are not symbols of beauty or craftsmanship. They are raw, concentrated portable currency. They are the ultimate spoils of a private war they continue to wage against the world. They do not care about the psychological trauma they inflict on the retail staff they hold at gunpoint. They do not care about the geopolitical implications of their actions. They view the opulent cities of London, Paris, and Geneva not as centers of culture or civilization, but as open, lucrative hunting grounds. Their minds, rewired by the trauma and survival mechanics of guerrilla warfare, perceive the civilian world as soft, unprepared, and vulnerable to organized aggression. They do not feel fear when the alarms sound. They do not feel guilt when they shatter the illusion of safety. They feel only the mechanical satisfaction of a successful tactical objective. The media can call them whatever they want. They can print legends and broadcast myths, but the forensic reality remains clear. These are not heroes returning wealth to the displaced. These are engineered detached machines of acquisition, utilizing the terrible lessons of a destroyed nation to bleed the wealth of the West, driven by an insatiable appetite for power. May 2003. London. The geopolitical violence of Eastern Europe, the smoldering ash of destroyed nations, is an invisible abstraction on the sunlit pavements of New Bond Street. This monitored artery of Mayfair is not a mere commercial retail district. It is the beating, fortified heart of British aristocracy and global wealth. The atmosphere here is dictated by an entrenched cultural code of cold, understated, and intimidating luxury. The architecture is imposing, classical, and designed to project an aura of exclusivity, repelling the uninvited and the unworthy. At the epicenter of this ecosystem stands the flagship boutique of Graf Diamonds. Graf is not simply a jewelry store. It is a sovereign, self-contained vault, masquerading as an elegant retail space. It houses the most breathtaking, expensive, and flawlessly cut precious stones on the planet. It is a temple of wealth, and temples are built to be impenetrable. The physical security apparatus protecting Graf is formidable, utilizing ballistic glass, reinforced steel frames, and advanced seismic sensors. But its frontline defense mechanism is psychological. The elite guards stationed at the front doors are trained, compensated human profilers. They spend their grueling shifts scanning the bustling street, hunting for micro-expressions of anxiety, hurried gaits, or the telltale signs of cheap mass manufacturing in a passing jacket. They are trained to identify and neutralize the unrefined energy of the common street criminal. However, the strategic architects of the Pink Panthers understood the fatal flaw embedded within this human security grid. They knew that in a society obsessed with class structure and outward appearance, unapologetic luxury operates as the ultimate invisible cloak. The greatest security blind spot in Mayfair is the flawless projection of aristocratic wealth. Stepping out of the London traffic and onto the immaculate pavement are two men. One of them is a hardened, experienced operative named Naboisa Denik. But Dennis has not brought the tactical Kevlar vests, the canvas webbing, or the scuffed combat boots of his former paramilitary life into Mayfair. He and his accomplice have undergone a sophisticated visual metamorphosis. They have weaponized the very concept of the British gentleman. They are draped in bespoke tailored business suits. These are not cheap off-the-rack garments. The wool fabric is cut to flatter the shoulders, the silk stitching is flawless, and the precise drape of the jackets conceals the lethal hardware strapped to their bodies. They have applied realistic, premium theatrical wigs, altering their natural hairlines, shifting their physical profiles, and softening their combat-hardened features into the relaxed visages of old-money European aristocrats. Every step they take toward the towering glass doors of Graf is a masterclass in psychological manipulation and kinetic control. They do not walk with the heavy-footed, adrenaline-fueled stride of armed robbers preparing to breach a target. They stroll with the slow, measured cadence of billionaires who possess unlimited time and infinite resources. They simulate the casual, unbothered arrogance that defines the global elite. They look right past the armed security personnel, treating them with the polite, condescending indifference expected from high-net-worth clients. They are invisible in plain sight, masked by their own manufactured opulence. To complete this optical illusion, they carry the undeniable symbol of the London gentleman. Clutched in their gloved hands are sleek, elegant, rolled black umbrellas. On a cloudy afternoon in Mayfair, an umbrella is unremarkable. It is a culturally mandatory accessory, an extension of the British uniform. But these specific umbrellas are not designed to repel the London rain. They are engineered, deceptive Trojan horses. Hidden within the folded fabric of the canopies are solid steel hammers. The polished wooden handles they grip so casually are attached to crude, barbaric instruments of blunt force destruction. They're carrying the raw tools of a smash-and-grab operation right out in the open, shielded by a thin layer of silk and the power of cultural expectation. The concealed hammers are merely crude tools meant for shattering the glass. The true terrifying reality of the operation is concealed beneath the tailoring of Naboisa Denik's expensive jacket. Pressed against his ribs, resting cold in a leather shoulder holster, is a massive, destructive firearm. It is a large-caliber Magnum revolver. This is not a compact, lightweight tactical weapon favored by modern covert operatives or standard police forces. It is a terrifying, oversized hand cannon, a weapon culturally immortalized by the cinematic violence of Dirty Harry. It is an instrument capable of inflicting catastrophic biological damage, designed to penetrate engine blocks and armor. The sheer weight of the loaded Magnum is immense, creating a constant drag on his shoulder. Yet Denik moves his body with practiced fluidity. He utilizes his combat-forged physical discipline to ensure that the steel cylinder of the revolver does not create a single crease, dragline. or unnatural bulge in the fine fabric of his bespoke suit. The two aristocratic phantoms reach the perimeter of the Graf Fortress. The elite security guards, trained men who were paid exclusively to detect danger and preserve the sanctuary, look directly at them. They look at the perfect tailoring. They look at the flawless hair. They look at the elegant umbrellas resting casually against the pavement. The guards' critical threat assessment protocols are short-circuited by the visual mandate of unquestionable wealth. The optical illusion performs flawlessly. The guards do not perceive two armed, combat-tested Balkan mercenaries preparing to execute a tactical strike. They perceive two valued, wealthy VIP clients arriving for a private viewing. The guards step aside with practiced British politeness. They offer a respectful, deferential nod and reach out to pull the reinforced glass doors open, willingly inviting the predators inside. Denish and his accomplice do not hesitate. They do not break their constructed character. They offer a polite acknowledgement, a subtle tip of the head, and step smoothly over the threshold. The transition from the chaotic exterior of New Bond Street into the hushed, isolated sanctuary of the jewelry vault is complete. The shatterproof glass doors swing shut behind them, sealing the environment with a quiet, magnetic click. They are inside. The Trojan horse has breached the impenetrable walls of the citadel. The magnetic lock disengages. The glass doors seal shut behind them. The aristocratic illusion dies the exact second they enter the showroom. The steel hammers are ripped from the umbrellas. The massive handgun is drawn. There is no shouting, no chaotic screaming. This is not a robbery. This is a military strike. The countdown begins. 180 seconds. They do not demand the keys. They do not wait for compliance. The steel hammers swing with devastating, practiced kinetic force. They smash directly into the reinforced security glass. The sound is deafening, a percussive detonation echoing through the pristine silence of the boutique. Shots of laminated glass rain down onto the plush carpets. The security guards freeze. The elite retail staff drop to the floor in sheer terror. The environment is paralyzed by the display of raw, uncompromising violence. But the violence is calculated. It is static. The operatives do not physically assault the staff. They do not herd the hostages into a back room. They understand the brutal mathematics of time. Inflicting unnecessary physical harm on a civilian is a tactical error. It increases the police response priority. It wastes precious, irreplaceable seconds. It creates unpredictable variables in a controlled environment. Their objective is not terror. Their objective is strict mechanical acquisition. 150 seconds remaining. The operatives move with robotic synchronicity. They do not blindly sweep their hands across the shattered displays. They do not grab random handfuls of silver or low-yield gold. They are executing a memorized, specific harvest. They plunge their gloved hands into the jagged ruins of the display cases. They extract only the most valuable pieces. They grab 47 specific items, 47 flawless, concentrated pieces of extreme wealth. Heavy diamond necklaces, massive, internally perfect solitaries. The zenith of global hierarchy. They shove the priceless stones into their pockets and hidden compartments. The flawless diamonds grind against each other, treated like common gravel by men who only see them as raw currency. 100 seconds. The adrenaline surging through the boutique is suffocating. The terrified staff on the floor can only watch the systematic dismantling of their inventory. The operatives' faces remain impassive beneath their theatrical disguises. Their heart rates are steady. The relentless high-stress combat conditioning of the Balkan Wars has numbed them to the chaos. They are detached from the magnitude of the theft. 50 seconds. The financial scale of the extraction is staggering. Every single swing of the hammer, every handful of diamonds pulled from the shattered glass, represents millions of pounds changing hands. In less time than it takes to brew a cup of coffee, they have secured a £23 million payload. £23 million. An entire lifetime of extreme luxury ripped from a reinforced fortress in broad daylight. 20 seconds. The strike is complete. The 47 targets have been acquired. The operatives do not linger. They do not survey the devastation they have just caused. They turn in perfect unison. They walk briskly, but without a trace of panic, back toward the glass doors. They have executed a 3-minute siege. The 180 seconds of static violence are over. They step back out onto the pavement of New Bond Street, carrying a £23 million fortune, leaving a shattered, traumatized fortress behind them. The glass doors close behind them, and the two operatives step from the hushed isolation of the jewelry vault back into the blinding reality of New Bond Street. They have executed their acquisition. The payload is secure against their bodies, but the tactical transition from static extraction to dynamic escape is always the most volatile phase of any military operation. They are now exposed, carrying an incomprehensible fortune through one of the most densely populated, policed urban commercial arteries in Europe. They need to dictate the physical terms of the street. They need to manufacture a massive diversion. Nabor Sedenik does not hesitate. He understands that civilian crowds operate on a predictable, biologically hardwired herd mentality. To control the herd, you must introduce a sudden apex threat. Denik raises the barrel of the Magnum revolver. He does not aim at the pedestrians or the distant traffic wardens. He points the hand cannon upward into the London sky and pulls the steel trigger. A single deafening gunshot rips through the polite murmur of Mayfair. The acoustic detonation is catastrophic, a percussive shockwave that reverberates against the classical stone facades of the luxury boutiques. It is an engineered acoustic weapon. The explosive crack of live ammunition instantly paralyzes the central nervous systems of hundreds of unsuspecting pedestrians. The wealthy shoppers, the international tourists, and the local businessmen succumb to primal panic. The ordered society of the street collapses into a chaotic, screaming, surging mob. People throw themselves blindly onto the hard pavement, desperately covering their heads. Others shove their way into nearby doorways, trampling over each other in a frantic bid for survival. Denny's has weaponized the environment. The sea of humanity parts, creating a wide, unobstructed physical corridor for their escape. The operational blueprint is functioning flawlessly. The mercenaries prepare to sprint toward their designated extraction vehicles, confident that the paralyzed civilian population will remain glued to the concrete until they are miles away. But complex military blueprints, no matter how calculated in a secure staging room, are fragile constructs. They rely inherently on the predictability of the human element. Nabor Sedenik, a hardened veteran of the Balkan conflicts, made one fatal, incalculable assumption. He assumed that every person walking down New Bond Street that afternoon was a soft, untested, easily intimidated civilian. He was wrong. Walking casually through the affluent district that afternoon is a man named Simon Stearman. On the surface, Stearman appears to be just another ordinary British citizen navigating the retail rush. He does not wear a military uniform. He does not carry a concealed weapon. He blends perfectly into the background of the city. But Simon Stearman is not a soft civilian. He is a trained, combat-forged veteran of the British Armed Forces. Specifically, he is a survivor of the Falklands War. To understand the psychological magnitude of what is about to happen, one must understand the crucible in which Stearman was forged. The Falklands conflict was not a modern digitized war of distant drone strikes and surgical laser guidance. It was a freezing, agonizing theater of close-quarters combat. Stearman had faced artillery barrages in freezing mud. He had navigated the extremes of human physical endurance and witnessed the unfiltered horror of mechanized slaughter. When the deafening crack of Dennis's Magnum echoes across the street, Stearman's central nervous system does not register the sound as terror. his brain, permanently rewired by the survival mechanics of active warfare, bypasses the biological panic response. The sound of gunfire does not make him freeze. It triggers his ingrained combat conditioning. While the wealthy elites of London are screaming and diving blindly for the gutters, Stearman does the exact opposite. He identifies the source of the acoustic threat. He spots the tall, elegantly dressed man holding the smoking magnum. He sees the operatives sprinting confidently through the parted crowd. The Balkan mercenary is running on the arrogant assumption of his own supremacy. He believes his violence has subdued the street. Stearman does not look for cover. He closes the distance. The physical collision is sudden, brutal, and violent. Dennis is a lethal mercenary, but he is blind to the kinetic threat approaching rapidly from his periphery. Stearman launches his entire body weight forward, executing a flawless high-velocity tackle directly into the fleeing criminal. The impact is a crushing transfer of kinetic energy. The aristocratic illusion is shattered as the two men slam onto the unforgiving asphalt of the London street. The magnum, the ultimate symbol of Denise's psychological dominance, is knocked away, skittering uselessly across the dirty pavement. In a fraction of a second, the disciplined military extraction devolves into a desperate primitive street brawl. But this is not a fight between equals. Dennick is a mercenary who fights for the promise of illicit cash. Stearman is a soldier who fights from a place of deep, unwavering internal duty. The psychological difference is absolute and decisive. Stearman immediately asserts physical dominance. He mounts the thrashing, desperate mercenary, pinning his shoulders firmly against the grinding concrete. The sheer, unadulterated fury radiating from the British veteran is terrifying. Dennick struggles wildly, desperately trying to leverage his own combat training to break the hold. But he is trapped beneath the crushing, immovable weight of a man operating on pure, righteous combat adrenaline. The street fight is a raw clash of ideologies, and the mercenary is losing ground. As they grapple on the ground, Stearman reaches down and grabs the mercenary by the hair. He pulls backward, and the customized theatrical wig rips away from Denise's scalp. The flawless aristocratic disguise, the meticulous visual armor that had bypassed the elite security profiling moments earlier, is destroyed. Dennick's sweating, desperate face is finally exposed to the harsh daylight and the stares of the surrounding crowd. The psychological destruction of the mercenary is absolute. He is pinned, stripped of his weapon, and stripped of his disguise. Stearman leans into the struggling criminal's face. The veteran does not deliver a grand cinematic monologue. He does not ask where the diamonds are hidden. He channels the unfiltered rage and disgust of a true soldier confronting a parasite. Staring directly into the terrified eyes of the Balkan operative, Stearman curses at him with raw, venomous fury. He screams into Dennis's face, berating him, calling him a stupid, pathetic excuse for a man. It is a moment of profound, breathtaking, poetic justice. The arrogant mercenary, a man who had terrorized the elite, who viewed the opulent streets of London as a vulnerable hunting ground, has been physically and psychologically broken by a single, unarmed pedestrian. The cold, mechanical violence of the criminal underworld has been crushed by the unwavering honor and fierce instinctive bravery of a genuine military veteran. Dennick is paralyzed not by advanced police tactics, but by sheer, uncompromising civilian defiance. However, the operational doctrine of the Pink Panthers network is built on a foundation of sociopathic pragmatism. The organization does not value personal loyalty over logistical success. They operate under a strict, unforgiving code of compartmentalization and ultimate financial objective. Just a few yards away from the thrashing struggle on the pavement, the second operative, Predrag Vujocevic, stands untouched. He watches his partner, Nebojša Dennick, being pinned, exposed, and humiliated by the British veteran. Vujocevic possesses the physical skills and the concealed weaponry to intervene. He could easily draw his own weapon, execute the unarmed veteran, and pull his partner from the concrete. But Vujocevic does not intervene. He does not take a single step forward to help his comrade. He looks at his compromised partner, and his mind instantly runs the cold, brutal mathematics of the situation. Engaging the veteran would take precious, dangerous seconds. It would draw immediate attention from the responding armed police units converging on the street, with their sirens wailing in the distance. It would jeopardize the primary objective. And in the shadowy world of the Balkan network, the primary objective is the only thing that matters. Vujocevic is currently carrying the vast majority of the £23 million payload. The flawless diamonds are secured in his pockets. He makes the cold, calculating, and ruthless decision to abandon his fellow soldier to the British justice system. Using the chaotic diversion created by Denise's capture, Vujocevic turns his back on his partner. He smoothly and quietly approaches the designated idling getaway vehicle, an agile, unassuming urban scooter, waiting near the curb. He mounts the small vehicle, his face obscured by a dark helmet. The engine whines sharply as he twists the throttle, while the heroic veteran continues to hold the disgraced mercenary firmly against the hard London asphalt, waiting for the authorities to arrive. Vujocevic merges into the panicked, congested traffic. He does not look back. He weaves between the stalled luxury cars and the fleeing pedestrians, bypassing the approaching sirens and the gathering crowds. The ultimate plot twist of the afternoon is a bitter, frustrating reality. Simon Stearman successfully delivered a monumental, devastating blow to the arrogant pride of the criminal network, executing a heroic, brave, physical takedown. But the unfeeling discipline of the organization held strong. The true prize, the pristine, untraceable global wealth, silently slipped away through the chaos, vanishing into the endless, winding labyrinth of the London streets. The physical trail of the staggering fortune had evaporated into the dark, untraceable, and complex arteries of the European black market. The immediate, chaotic physical theater of the crime was now irrelevant. The focus of the massive investigation pivoted away from the rain-slicked, monitored pavements of London. It shifted directly into the quiet, encrypted, and sterile international intelligence war rooms of Interpol. A coordinated joint task force was assembled, uniting the elite investigative branches of Scotland Yard and the specialized units of the French National Police. They were no longer hunting simple smash-and-grab thieves. They were tracking a disciplined, sophisticated, and stateless military ghost network across fortified international borders. Through weeks of relentless, painstaking forensic telecommunications analysis and covert surveillance, the international intelligence finally converged on a specific, actionable target. A high-stakes armed tactical raid was executed on an unassuming, quiet apartment located in Western Europe. This specific residence was not selected at random. It was digitally linked to a man named Milan Jovetic. Intelligence dossiers identified Jovetic not as a frontline tactical operative, but as a connected, embedded logistical broker operating quietly within the shadows of the Balkan network. When the tactical units breached the doors of the apartment, their weapons drawn and their adrenaline spiking, they expected to find the standard fortified infrastructure of a major international criminal fencing operation. They expected to find steel safes, complex biometric locks, advanced electronic surveillance countermeasures, and armed guards protecting the stolen millions. Instead, they found a remarkably ordinary domestic environment. The apartment was quiet, clean, and unremarkable. The elite crime scene investigators methodically dismantled the residence. They tore up the wooden floorboards. They scanned the plaster walls with thermal imaging cameras. They deployed specialized sniffer dogs and fiber optic scopes. They found nothing. The massive fortune seemed to have vanished into thin air. But to understand the terrifying brilliance of the Balkan network, one must analyze the psychological mechanics of cross-border asset smuggling. The architects of this syndicate understood a fundamental, undeniable truth about global security. They knew that armed men carrying locked, reinforced metal briefcases draw intense scrutiny at international customs checkpoints. To move millions of pounds of stolen, identifiable diamonds across monitored European borders, they needed impenetrable psychological camouflage. They needed unquestionable, harmless invisibility. They found this flawless camouflage in the mundane, everyday luggage of an innocent-looking woman. The raided apartment belonged not just to the logistical broker, Milan Jovicic, but also to his girlfriend, a woman named Anna Stankovic. As the frustrated forensic investigators continued their meticulous sweep of the residence, one veteran detective turned his attention to the unremarkable master bathroom. He began systematically inspecting the standard commercial toiletries lining the shelves. He picked up a simple, elegantly packaged jar of women's face cream. It was an ordinary cosmetic product, the exact type of item found in millions of civilian bathrooms across the globe. It possessed zero threat profile. X-ray machines at international airport security checkpoints struggled to differentiate the density of thick cosmetic pastes, and border guards rarely possessed the time or the inclination to dig their fingers into a woman's personal skincare routine. It was the brilliant exploitation of harmless femininity. The detective unscrewed the plastic lid. He looked down into the thick, opaque, smooth, white cosmetic paste. Operating on seasoned investigative instinct, he plunged a gloved finger deep into the center of the cold cream. He did not feel the soft bottom of the plastic jar. He felt a hard, sharp, dense, physical resistance. Slowly, meticulously, the detective withdrew his gloved hand. Coated in the thick, cheap white cosmetic cream was a breathtakingly perfect, flawlessly cut gemstone. The technicians wiped the paste away, exposing the object to the harsh, sterile lights of the bathroom. It was a massive, rare blue diamond, a concentrated piece of extreme global wealth, carrying a verified retail value of exactly £500,000. £500,000 of pristine, engineered British luxury, submerged and hidden away in a 10-pound jar of generic face cream. The sheer, audacious absurdity of the discovery sent shockwaves through the international intelligence community. The police possessed multi-million-pound surveillance algorithms, armed response units, and advanced biometric tracking systems. Yet they had secured their very first major victory against the network because of a jar of skin lotion. But as the details of this bizarre, unconventional smuggling tactic began to circulate through the upper echelons of Scotland Yard and the French National Police, an ironic, almost cinematic realization dawned on the senior investigators. The brilliant concept of hiding a massive, priceless diamond deep inside a jar of women's face cream was not a stroke of original tactical genius by the Balkan military veterans. It was a deliberate mocking copy of a Hollywood screenplay. The investigators realized that this specific smuggling method was lifted perfectly, frame by frame, from the legendary 1975 comedy film, The Return of the Pink Panther. The psychological implications of this discovery were staggering. The syndicate was not merely stealing from the Western world. They were deliberately mocking the global justice system. They were utilizing the plots of classic European comedy films to bypass the most advanced, well-funded customs checkpoints on the planet. They were blurring the thin, fragile line between real-world criminal reality and fictional cinematic art. When this incredible, ironic detail was leaked to the global press, the media frenzy was instantaneous. The undeniable symmetry between the cinematic fiction and the cold, hard forensic reality was simply too perfect to ignore. Based on the sheer audacity of the face cream discovery and the direct homage to the classic 1975 Peter Sellers film, Interpol and the international media officially christened the shadowy Balkan military network. From that single absurd moment in a European bathroom onward, the lethal, disciplined ghosts of the Yugoslavian wars would be known to the world by a single, legendary, and ironic title: the Pink Panthers. The Hollywood notion of thieves celebrating in a dimly lit safe house, admiring their intact glittering prizes, is a cinematic fantasy. In the highest echelons of international organized crime, an intact piece of recognizable luxury is not a trophy. It is a toxic, radioactive liability. It is a guaranteed one-way ticket to a maximum security prison. The precise moment the physical extractions is complete and the stolen assets have successfully bypassed border security, the true complex genius of the shadow economy is activated. This is the exclusive domain of the black market supply chain. It is a sophisticated, distributed, and efficient logistical machine designed from the ground up with a single uncompromising objective: absolute metallurgical and gemological amnesia. The very first stage of this multi-million-dollar laundering technology is uncompromising physical deconstruction. The breathtaking artistry of a master jeweler, the delicate handcrafted platinum prongs, the intricate white gold chains, the meticulously designed floral motifs. All of it is destroyed within hours of the robbery. Underground technicians operating in ventilated, soundproofed subterranean workshops wear protective gear as they utilize specialized industrial pliers and high-frequency ultrasonic cutters. They pry the precious stones from their delicate metallic foundations. The criminal syndicate does not attempt to sell a stolen necklace or a bespoke bracelet in its recognizable form. To even attempt such a transaction would invite immediate identification by any competent pawnbroker, auction house, or police informant in the world. The historical identity of the jewelry must be severed. The metal and the stones are permanently divorced. The heavy gold and rare platinum settings are tossed into high-frequency induction melting furnaces. Platinum is an incredibly dense, resilient, precious metal. It requires an intense, searing heat of over 1,700 degrees Celsius to finally reach a liquid state. Inside these glowing, superheated ceramic crucibles, the identifiable serial numbers stamped into the precious metals by the original manufacturers are incinerated. The exquisite, world-class craftsmanship is reduced to a bubbling, anonymous puddle of glowing liquid alloy. The intense heat purifies the metal of its history. This superheated molten metal is then poured directly into crude, unmarked graphite molds, cooling rapidly into heavy, untraceable bullion bars. In a matter of hours, a recognizable masterpiece of European jewelry is reduced to its basest, untraceable commodity value. The metal is now sterile. It can be sold by the ounce to any unscrupulous refiner on the planet without triggering a single alarm. But melting metal is merely the easiest, most primitive phase of the illicit operation. The monumental logistical challenge lies within the stones themselves. To the untrained human eye, a diamond is simply a beautiful, glittering rock reflecting the light. But to international law enforcement agencies and the regulated global diamond industry, a high-value diamond is a complex, microscopic data storage device. Decades ago, the industry introduced a foolproof security measure to combat the flow of conflict minerals. Modern luxury diamonds are protected by advanced microscopic laser-etched serial numbers. These unique, complex alphanumeric identification codes are burned directly onto the girdle, the thinnest, microscopic outer edge of the diamond, using precision-calibrated cold laser technology. These inscriptions are invisible to the naked eye. They require a 10-power jeweler's loupe or a high-resolution laboratory microscope to read. They act as a permanent, undeniable digital fingerprint, linking that specific stone directly to its legal owner, its exact carat weight, its precise color grading, and its detailed international police report. To defeat this advanced security measure, the Balkan network utilizes the dark arts of the underground lapidary. The stolen stones are securely transported through the shadow supply chain to skilled, corrupted master jewelers operating deep within the illicit economy. These are men who possess the exact same rigorous collegiate training and microscopic physical precision as the legitimate, celebrated artisans of Geneva or Paris. However, they have willingly chosen to defect to the lucrative tax-free criminal underworld. Their operational objective is to forcefully overwrite the physical geometric identity of the diamond. They place the stolen stone onto a rapidly spinning, diamond-dusted polishing wheel known as a scaphe. Operating with cold mathematical precision and microscopic physical focus, the underground jeweler grinds away the microscopic laser-etched serial number. But this is not a simple eraser. They cannot file down one single edge of a perfect gemstone. Doing so would destroy the internal symmetry, ruin the critical light-refracting properties of the diamond, and plummet its financial value. To maintain the blinding brilliance of the stone while erasing its criminal history, the underground jeweler must fundamentally recut the entire diamond. They must introduce new facets, altering the critical angles of the crown and the pavilion. They physically shave away the outer layers of the ancient carbon lattice. This is a delicate, high-stakes surgical procedure. A single microscopic millimeter of miscalculation, a slight misjudgment of the diamond's internal cleavage planes, can shatter a $1 million asset into worthless, fragmented dust. Through this painstaking, skilled process of mechanical abrasion, the diamond's original identifying characteristics are permanently, irrevocably destroyed. A famous documented 5-carat emerald-cut diamond enters the underground workshop in the dead of night. Several agonizing days later, it emerges as an undocumented, untraceable 4.6-carat cushion-cut diamond. The microscopic laser code is permanently gone. The precise carat weight has mathematically changed. The internal refractive index has shifted. The stolen asset has been anonymized. The bloody history of the stone has been washed away by intense friction and flying diamond dust. These newly polished anonymous stones are now clean. They possess zero verifiable link to any police database, insurance manifest, or stolen property registry on the planet. They are essentially newborn gems, possessing immense concentrated wealth, but zero history. With the assets successfully scrubbed of their true identities and disconnected from the original crime scene, the final critical phase of the black market supply chain is initiated: the rapid, global liquidation. These newly anonymous stones do not remain hidden in basement safes or buried in the ground. They must be rapidly pushed back into the legitimate global financial system to generate the untraceable cash reserves demanded by the syndicate's paramilitary commanders. The primary geographical target for this massive influx of laundered wealth is almost always the exact same specific location: the fortified, complex, and secretive environment of the Antwerp underworld in Belgium. Antwerp is the undisputed beating heart of the global diamond trade. An estimated 80% of all rough diamonds and 50% of all cut diamonds on the planet pass through this single concentrated European district every year. It is a sprawling multi-billion-dollar labyrinth of high-security bourses, specialized diamond banks, and armored transport vehicles. To the disciplined criminal network, Antwerp is the perfect commercial ecosystem. It provides impenetrable camouflage. It is the easiest place on Earth to hide a bucket of sand by dumping it directly onto the world's largest, most chaotic beach. The logistical routing of the newly cut stones toward this financial hub is compartmentalized. Specialized couriers, utilizing the very same guarded, embedded smuggling pipelines established to move military contraband and weapons during the Balkan conflicts, transport the anonymous stones deep into the heart of Belgium. They bypass commercial airports, guarded train stations, and standard border checkpoints. They utilize a complex, reliable network of bribed customs officials, hidden vehicular compartments, and dark, unmonitored maritime shipping lanes. However, The final transactions between the syndicate's logistical brokers and the corrupt wholesale diamond buyers of Antwerp do not occur in elegant, wood-paneled executive offices. They do not occur over lengthy lunches or in guarded corporate boardrooms filled with security cameras. The apex of this massive criminal economy operates with raw, terrifying, and mobile efficiency. The illicit financial exchanges take place off the grid. They happen on the damp, desolate shoulders of commercial European highways, in the dark, unmonitored corners of abandoned industrial parks, or deep inside the shadows of subterranean parking garages. The buyers arrive at the predetermined coordinates in unmarked, armored, standard-looking commercial transport vans. These vehicles are not mere transport trucks. They are advanced, fully operational, mobile gemological laboratories insulated from the outside world. When the syndicate courier finally hands over the leather pouches filled with the anonymous stones, the wholesale buyers do not simply hold them up to a flashlight and guess their market value. The interior walls of the armored van are lined with cutting-edge, multi-million-dollar laundering technology. The buyers feed the stolen, recut diamonds into specialized, automated optical diamond sorting machines. These advanced computer-controlled devices utilize intense X-ray fluorescence and high-resolution spectroscopy to microscopically analyze the internal clarity, the exact color grading, and the precise molecular purity of every single stone in real time. The machines process the diamonds at blinding speeds, firing rapid, intense bursts of light directly through the carbon structures. The automated systems generate an accurate mathematical market valuation on a glowing digital monitor, casting a cold blue light inside the van. There is no haggling. There is no emotional negotiation between criminals. The transaction is dictated by the cold, unforgiving, algorithmic output of the optical sorting technology. Once the machine verifies the purity and the wholesale value of the anonymized assets, the financial exchange is executed instantly. Heavy, shrink-wrapped bricks of untraceable, non-sequential euro banknotes are shoved across the cold steel table inside the dark van. The cash is secured into duffel bags. The optical sorters are powered down. The back doors of the unmarked armored van are slammed shut. The vehicles accelerate away from the desolate rendezvous point, disappearing seamlessly back into the endless anonymous flow of commercial European highway traffic. In that single orchestrated silent moment, the entire brutal cycle of the illicit economy is finalized. The armed military strike executed on a luxury boutique weeks prior has been successfully digested by the global financial system. The physical evidence has been melted, ground down, and erased from existence. The syndicate commanders residing safely in the Balkans receive their massive, untraceable influx of operational funding, allowing them to begin plotting their next high-value architectural target. And the newly cut anonymous stones quietly bleed back into the legitimate, regulated global retail market. They are destined to eventually sit behind pristine, illuminated, shatterproof glass cabinets in New York, Tokyo, or Dubai. They are clean, legally certified, and permanently silent about their dark, violent, and blood-soaked origins. The oak-paneled doors of the British courtroom finally swing shut, sealing the legal narrative of the 2003 Graf raid into the permanent historical archives of Scotland Yard. The justice system, desperate to project an aura of total control and impenetrable authority over the wealthy streets of London, presents the publicized conviction of Neboj Sedenik as a definitive, monumental triumph of international law enforcement. Denik is stripped of his meticulously tailored bespoke suits, stripped of his aristocratic illusions, and forced into the harsh, unforgiving, and anonymous reality of a maximum security prison cell. The wooden gavel falls, the decades-long sentence is pronounced, and the authorities proudly declare that the elite sanctuaries of Mayfair are once again safe from the shadowy, organized predators of Eastern Europe. However, when you bypass the self-congratulatory press conferences, ignore the crafted political rhetoric, and examine the cold mathematical reality of the final balance sheet, the comforting illusion of a decisive legal victory evaporates. The high-profile conviction of Nebojsh Sedinik was not a fatal structural blow to the syndicate. It was a microscopic, easily absorbed inconvenience. In the ruthless, compartmentalized, and pragmatic corporate structure of the Balkan network, Denik was never a crucial, irreplaceable central architect. He was simply a frontline operative, a trained but disposable piece of tactical biological hardware. His eventual capture was an anticipated, acceptable operational loss. It was a calculated risk that had already been factored into the syndicate's massive geopolitical ledger long before the first pane of glass was ever shattered. While Denny faced the crushing, isolated reality of spending the prime years of his life behind reinforced steel bars, his primary accomplice, Predrag Vojosevic, successfully vanished into the void. Vojosevic represents the true, terrifying, and untouchable reality of the Ghost Network. He navigated the complex labyrinth of European borders, evading the most sophisticated intelligence dragnet in modern history, and dissolved back into the shadowy, untraceable underworld from which he had initially emerged. But the most devastating, humiliating defeat for the international authorities was not the successful escape of a single, lethal mercenary. It was the permanent, inexplicable evaporation of the physical target itself. Despite the unprecedented, multinational mobilization of Interpol, despite the relentless forensic sweeps conducted across multiple continents, and despite the millions of taxpayer dollars poured directly into the global investigation, the vast, overwhelming majority of the staggering £23 million fortune was never recovered. The flawless, valuable diamonds, extracted from the shattered display cabinets of New Bond Street in a mere 180 seconds, are permanently gone. They have been flawlessly digested by the insatiable, engineered stomach of the global black market. The profound, unsettling, and dark irony of this massive wealth transfer is that these stolen diamonds did not cease to exist. They did not magically vanish into an alternate dimension. They are currently sitting in plain sight. After passing through the subterranean workshops of corrupt lapidaries, after having their microscopic laser serial numbers ground away into untraceable carbon dust, these newly recut anonymous stones quietly and seamlessly bled back into the legitimate global economy. They are, at this very moment, resting elegantly on the fingers of international billionaires, embedded deeply in the platinum necklaces of prominent socialites, and locked securely within the guarded, climate-controlled safety deposit boxes of the global elite. The opulent wealth that was stolen from the apex of British high society was systematically laundered, anonymized, and ultimately sold right back to the exact same demographic. The syndicate did not simply execute a robbery. They executed a flawless, closed-loop economic transaction that transferred concentrated wealth from the insured corporate ledgers of London directly into the untraceable, subterranean vaults of the Balkans. The international authorities desperately wanted the terrified public to believe that the 2003 Graf raid was the climax of a localized, specific criminal threat. They fundamentally, catastrophically misunderstood the true terrifying nature of the beast they were hunting. The executed operation on New Bond Street was not the closing chapter of a criminal enterprise. It was, in terrifying reality, a bloody, successful, and perfectly executed proof of concept. The 2003 Graf heist officially served as the violent, spectacular genesis of a global epidemic of high-yield asset extraction. The syndicate had tested their military-grade operational doctrine against one of the most fortified, monitored luxury retail environments on the planet, and they had won an undeniable, breathtaking victory. They proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the extreme, unapologetic luxury of the Western world was inherently soft, structurally vulnerable, and disastrously unprepared for the uncompromising, hyper-violent tactics of stateless asymmetrical warfare. Following their devastating, lucrative success in London, the network didn't retreat into the shadows to quietly enjoy their massive spoils. They expanded their global operational theater. The Pink Panthers proliferated across the globe, executing audacious, synchronized tactical strikes in Paris, Tokyo, Dubai, Monaco, and Geneva. They drove armored vehicles directly through the reinforced glass doors of Middle Eastern megamalls. They utilized high-speed military-grade speedboats to successfully escape across the Mediterranean Sea after striking the exclusive boutiques of the French Riviera. They rapidly evolved into an unstoppable, fluid, and terrifying global franchise. The fundamental, insurmountable problem facing modern international law enforcement is that you cannot arrest an ideology. You cannot place handcuffs on a massive socio-economic vacuum.